All right, what's going on, everybody? You can see by the title of the video, I have an interesting topic to talk about today. Obviously, it's going to be another Shonen Jump Sunday, but we're going to do things a bit different. So I'm a bit behind on Jump. Usually we read a bit of everything, but since I'm catching up, you know what I want to read today? I want to read some Himiten, because Himiten has been recommended to me for a hot minute, and I read the first chapter and I really liked it, and I like the art style, and I actually like the characters so far. So I think we'll just make today a Himiten day, especially since we've been gone for a hot minute. I don't think anyone is dying to know what I think of Kagurabachi or the usual stuff. But I also, if you can tell by the title of the stream, I want to talk about Dragon Ball Super, because Daima's been over for like 4 months. The last Super movie came out a while ago. The manga isn't really, you know, nothing's going on with the manga. And I just caught up with the manga because I hadn't read the Granola arc or the stuff after. And yeah, we're kind of in no man's land for Dragon Ball right now. So I want to talk about the anime. I want to talk about like kind of the impact it had on the anime community. And I want to talk about what they might do next. But while I'm doing that, I want to read Himiten, because Himiten looks pretty goddamn good. The Ichi the Witch chapter today is in my top 5. Damn, that's some hype. Very hard topic. We got Gamer Chan Leanne. What's going on, Leanne? Pleasure to have you. We got Toad Sage. What's going on, Sage? We'll start off with Ichi the Witch because Eden's hyped it up. I think I'm a couple chapters behind. We'll let Viz decide that. Yeah, I'm a couple chapters behind. So I left off on chapter 41 where Gokuraku decided he was going to head out with Ichi's team. Don't listen to me. No. You hyped it up and now I kind of want to read it. After that, we're going to read Himiten. But obviously, I want to start off by talking about Dragon Ball. Just to start the conversation while I'm reading manga. Manga's on big hiatus because of Shueisha fighting for Dragon Ball rights after Akira Toriyama's passing. Yeah, that's curious what they're going to do with that. Something I didn't even consider. Because Akira Toriyama, I don't know what he owned, because usually when somebody starts a manga, it's like 50-50, like we own the rights, but you own revenue stuff as well. But I would imagine that he would have negotiated better when they did Dragon Ball Super. I don't know. It's curious. I would have to look into that. That being said, I want to start the conversation with this. Can anybody tell me, and if nobody tells me in like 30 seconds, I'm going to tell you, can anybody tell me the year Dragon Ball The Battle of Gods movie came out, or initially came out? So what year did Dragon Ball, it's either Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z, I can't remember, but Dragon Ball Battle of Gods, what year did that movie come out? 2013, that's right, 2013. So that's 10, that's like 12 years ago. Over 12 years ago, because I think it came out May 2013, if I'm not mistaken. 2013. That is crazy, because Dragon Ball Super still feels recent, right? Like it doesn't feel new, but it doesn't feel old. But it's like a 12-year-old series, basically. That's crazy. So then they would come out with the anime like 2 years later. The anime was met with very mixed reception because the first arc was just a movie recap, and then the second arc was just a movie recap. And they also were very weird with the manga even crazier since Super has been gone for about 5 of those years, almost 6. Excuse me. So the anime and the manga both started in 2015. The anime, let's say the anime started in May 2015. The manga didn't start until June or July. So, and what happened was, obviously, Super was weekly, right? Like One Piece. But the manga was only monthly. It was in V Jump. So, for the first time, practically ever, we were in a situation where a series anime was far ahead of the manga, to the point where at any given moment, the manga would be like a whole arc, maybe 2, behind the anime, which is crazy. It's practically the first time it's ever happened. Anime at the start, DBS was really bad because of animation. One Piece, for the same reason, animation was bad too. Hi, what's up? Just arrived. What's going on, Jaden? Pleasure to have you. Good to see you. It's crazy to think about. That was basically that was the end of old school Toei. Like, Toei is still doing their thing with One Piece. Obviously, it's much different than like pre-Wano or even during Wano. But that's really probably the last time we'll ever see like truly weekly anime besides One Piece, because they were doing One Piece and Dragon Ball at the same time, which is crazy. Pre-production was very late. That's the thing, like they were firing on all pistons, because it was Toei doing Dragon Ball and One Piece and doing One Piece movies and doing Dragon Ball movies. So they had a ton of shit going on top of whatever other projects they were probably doing. We got Grace. What's going on, Grace? Good to see you. But yeah, the Dragon Ball movie was like a miracle, because we have to talk about like Dragon Ball at the time. So Dragon Ball in the late 2000s was not dead, but it was fairly irrelevant. Like, nobody was really talking about Dragon Ball. And people in the Dragon Ball community can confirm this, because in the early 2000s, you had some like abridged videos and people, you know, would talk about Dragon Ball because it's Dragon Ball. It's like the most influential manga, right? We got Sour in chat. What's going on, Sour? Good to have you. But like, it was like Bleach before 1,000 Year Blood War. Like, yeah, people talked about it, but like nobody cared, right? They were exactly. Gun said they were talking about Dragon Ball Evolution. Exactly. So pre-Dragon Ball Super was kind of like purgatory, where like it was relevant. It was mainstream, but it wasn't like super relevant. And like, you know, people wanted to talk about Dragon Ball, but like it was kind of just for practical purposes. It was dead. Like there was no real reason to bring up Dragon Ball, right? What are my thoughts on Dragon Ball GT? Dragon Ball GT is good for what it is. For like a canon, non-canon spin-off / finale, it's good. Obviously, it's got its issues, it's got its flaws, but I really love Dragon Ball GT. Late 2000s, outside of Naruto and Bleach, the talk of the town was Death Note and Code Geass too. It was new stuff. It was new stuff at the time. Stuff that you could actually watch, stuff that people were actually, it was stuff that was relevant. Dragon Ball was not relevant. It was mainstream, right? Like if you watched Naruto, you probably liked Dragon Ball, right? But it was not relevant. It was dead. GT was over. They weren't making any more movies. It's like, why are you talking about Dragon Ball? I think DBS is overhated. It isn't at all perfect, but most people think it's trash when it's actually pretty decent with incredible moments from time to time. So I want to get to that because that's a really good point, and that's why I want to have this conversation. So then the movie dropped. The movie dropping was, I'm trying to think of something recent that is like the equivalent of that. I can't think of anything that comes close to that besides like Thousand Year Blood War, because Bleach was like the ass of everyone's joke, and then they announced Thousand Year Blood War, and suddenly it was like the most underrated series in the big three. Like, if you look at discourse for Bleach right after it ended, and then discourse for Bleach after they announced Thousand Year Blood War, it's like night and day. It went from like, dude, Bleach is trash, Bleach is for idiots, Bleach is for whatever, to like, you don't understand the genius of Bleach. Kubo is a god, the perfection of Bleach, right? Like, it was like, come on, man. Dope Wolverine shirt. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll pull it up or down. I got this at Target. It is not at all a very special shirt. I don't read the Wolverine comics. I would like to at some point, but he's my favorite, probably my favorite superhero, because we are both short kings, and also he likes whiskey and cheap cigars like I do. It was mostly the video games that was yeah. So if you go back to 2000s Dragon Ball, right, we had Budokai Tenkaichi, Raging Blast, Burst Limit, if anyone remembers Burst Limit for the PS2. But yeah, that was like the only reason Dragon Ball was relevant, because they were selling video games and like really random merchandise. But people were still buying it because people love Dragon Ball. They love the characters. So anyway, I was talking about Bleach for a second. Short Kings, you goddamn right, I'm a short king. That's right. I'm remembering Toriko too. JD Legend just did a video on Toriko. Toriko is a mixed bag for a lot of reasons. But back to Dragon Ball. When they dropped the movie, that was like a miracle, because all the people who wanted to talk about Dragon Ball suddenly had stuff to talk about. And it was like, oh shit, like it was like a new thing for Dragon Ball, like a new really cool thing. It wasn't like some bullshit movie. Toriyama was involved. The character, it was like pre-GT, so if you didn't like GT, it was like a return to Dragon Ball Z. And then not too long after that, I don't know when they announced it, but they announced the anime. So like Dragon Ball was in again. It was relevant, right? And when, let's not be mistaken, when it dropped, it was like the #1 thing that people were talking about. Obviously, people were talking about seasonal anime and stuff, right? But everyone was talking about Dragon Ball. So what happened? So there was the anime and manga stuff I talked about. The manga was like constantly behind the anime. So for like the first 2 years, there was really no point in reading the manga unless you really, really liked Dragon Ball. And then the anime was just a shitty recap of the movies. Literally, it was just a recap of the movies. The only reason to watch Dragon Ball Super for like the first year or two was just if you wanted to watch more Dragon Ball. That was really it. They really didn't flesh anything out. It was like slightly different than the movies, but practically the same. It was mostly for recap. So that took, I think that took like a year, because I think both of those movie recap arcs were like 24 episodes. So I think that would have been the equivalent of like a year. Matthew just subscribed. Well, hello, Matthew. DBS is pretty overrated in my opinion. DBS is what got me into the anime and manga scene. It was pretty addicting to watch and I loved it. I remember trying to do Kamehamehas in my living room. That's the thing. It brought Dragon Ball back. It made Dragon Ball relevant for all the old school people. And it also was the gateway for people like Grace, who were this like new generation of anime fans, people getting into anime for the first time. So it was a major success in that regard. Excuse me. A lot of people praised Battle of Gods in that time. That was a really a comeback of the franchise. Everyone liked Beerus. Everyone liked Whis. Everyone liked the Super Saiyan God transformation. The animation in that movie still is gorgeous, right? And then it continued in Resurrection of F, the second movie. The animation was phenomenal. They like really did a ton with like camera angles and stuff, perspectives. It was like still 2D, but like they were doing some 3D stuff. 10 Years of Super, which was a epic and sometimes messy ride, but damn it, with the post Tournament of Power arcs being so great, it's a shame they haven't got to animate them. I'm gonna get to that because I want to talk about the manga, because the manga is definitely underrated. Overhated. Okay, did you say that? And okay, no, overhated. Thank you. Found out through that Vegeta was given a brother in a movie we never got that took place before Battle of Gods. Yeah, that was the only movie at the time, because they never came out, not for a while at least, they never came out with a dub of that. But I forget what, it wasn't even a movie. It was like a TV special. It was like an hour-long special where Vegeta's brother comes to Earth, and there's ex-soldiers of Frieza, and they chase him to Earth, and they fight Goten and Trunks, and they do like a fusion. It didn't really add anything to the series, but it was like more Dragon Ball. So like there was this whole period from like the late 90s to about the late 2000s where Dragon Ball was not relevant, but they kept making content, video games, TV specials, whatever, and people were eating it up. People played every single video game. People watched every TV special, right? They also did, I forget when they did it, but they did the eradication of the Saiyans, which was like sort of a movie. And then they brought it back for one of the Raging Blast games. And people bought that game just to watch like an HD remaster of eradication of the Saiyans. That was another thing. I don't have anything to watch. Do you think I should rewatch it? Yeah, I think you could always rewatch Dragon Ball Super. I would watch the movies, and then I would watch, I would start the anime at the Future Trunks arc. So the one thing I'll say about the anime is they did add stuff. Like they added some small stuff. Like they added the stuff with Hercule and what Goku was up to farming, and they added some stuff with Krillin and Android 18 and their daughter. So they fleshed out some stuff in the beginning, but from that point on, it was literally just a movie recap. Dragon Ball Super was only popular for the fights. The story wasn't that impactful, to be honest. Just think Goku got married, saved the Earth, left with Shenlong, was a perfect ending. There was no story you get of Goku. What are you talking about? Yeah, Dragon Force, I gotta disagree with you on that one. Hachiyak was dope in design, but pretty generic. Yeah, I'm not crazy about Hachiyak. Shonen OG, DBS Goku Black arc from manga and anime has a huge difference. Yeah, we're going to talk about that because I want to talk about the manga stuff. It's funny how I said like a half hour ago I was going to read Ichi the Witch and Himiten, which is okay. I like being loosey-goosey. And obviously this is the title of the stream, and I'm glad everyone's so excited about Dragon Ball. Now we have a second anime Arabic setting with Witch in Mongolia. Yeah, people keep talking about that series. I gotta check it out. So should I start at the Battle of Gods movie? Yeah, I would start at the Battle of Gods movie. Maybe watch a little bit of the anime, but if your concern is, you know, efficiency, I would watch the first two movies, and then I would start at the Goku Black arc or the Future Trunks arc of the anime and just go from there. But yeah, so, Vinland Saga, final chapter of Vinland Saga opinions. I thought the final chapter was a really nice ending to the series overall. I think it was the perfect ending for Vinland Saga, and I think they did a really good job with the ending. The only thing is I wish there was more content in the final chapter. I feel like it really only focused on Bug Eyes, and like nothing else happened in that chapter. Like we didn't see Canute, I don't think. We didn't see like Thorkel, right? Like we really didn't see anything in that chapter. That was the only thing I was kind of disappointed about. But thematically, it was the perfect final note to the series. They did a lot of stuff right. So Vinland Saga, perfect ending. Vinland Saga fans, stay winning. Thoughts on Dragon Ball Daima? I think it's good. I think it was weirdly divisive, but I like it. I hope they come out with the second season. Moro needs to happen since he's a cool concept of a villain. All right, so I'm going to get to the manga, but I want to talk about whatever I was talking about. I'm going to slightly repeat myself so I can build up to the manga. So yeah, the anime comes out. The manga is behind. The anime has a ton of animation issues. It's mostly recap. So people are like, you know, Dragon Ball's popular, but also the anime is... It also introduced, oh no, we got it in the movies as well, but Super Saiyan Blue. So I wasn't like following the series at the time because I wasn't like a huge anime fan at the time. But that was around the time that they announced the Goku Black. Bro, when they announced Goku Black, everyone like shit their pants because they're like, wait, there's an evil Goku? And he has pink hair. What the hell? And Future Trunks is back. So the Future Trunks arc of Dragon Ball Super was like another revamp of the series because people were sick of the movie recaps. The manga, nothing really was going on in the manga. And yeah, that was like Dragon Ball Super's first true anime arc. And for the most part, it did okay. The pacing was kind of all over the place. Goku Black / Zamasu was a good villain in concept, but practically he had a number of problems, like with him being OP, with him not really being that menacing of a villain until later. And of course, all the time travel stuff. And then, at least in the anime, the ending of the Future Trunks arc, I forget exactly what happened, but basically they find another timeline. So a timeline we've never seen. They're like, oh, hey, we could throw you in this one where like everything stayed the same and it's totally normal. And they just go into that timeline where while Trunks and Mai are still in that timeline. It's like, what? So that arc was good for a lot of reasons, but it was also very weird. And rightfully so, people criticize that arc for its flaws. But for what it was, I like that arc. A lot of people don't like that arc for very valid reasons, but I like that arc. I thought Goku Black, for the most part, was a really good villain until the end. And then at the end, it was just, it blew up. So that brings us to the Tournament of Power. And my God, did all the issues of Dragon Ball Super and Toei come back. Painfully bad pacing, right? Like the build up to the actual Tournament of Power and recruiting everybody and like taking 2 episodes to recruit Krillin, taking like 2 episodes to recruit Tien and Master Roshi, right? Boo. There was like a whole thing with Boo, and then Boo didn't end up in the Tournament of Power. And just the pacing of the Tournament of Power, my God. Like the whole, like every character is going to get like a 3-episode fight, this and that. It was crazy. But the Tournament of Power was really, really fun and had a lot of really good moments. Frieza came back and was teamed up with everybody. Nobody saw that coming. We got the Universe 6 Saiyans, right? That was really cool. Got a bunch of cool characters, a bunch of cool fights. Android 17 made his big return. And then, of course, we got the ending. We got Ultra Instinct. And we got the final fight against Jiren, which is still amazing. Yeah. Vegeta kind of got dicked in that arc, but he had some good moments as well. Goku Black arc is okay, but it fell off with Zamasu. Zamasu is the best and worst part about the Future Trunks arc, because he's the whole reason we have Goku Black. And like, I kind of like his philosophy. It's kind of bland, but I like it. It was like the first time in a while we had a villain that was like philosophical and wasn't just like, hey, I'm the strongest guy in the universe, so come fight me. It was like, no, like I'm actually evil. But he got some bullshit powers, and yeah, it was a whole thing. I remember people being so mad that Krillin and Android 17 were fighting Goku Blue. Bro, just the fact that like every character needed 3 episodes to recruit them. It was ridiculous. It was like, nobody cared. Like everyone just wanted to start the Tournament of Power. But like, and also you have to remember, they had Krillin fighting, like Eden said, they had Krillin fighting Goku Blue, and they were like clashing, and like Krillin actually kind of gave Goku a run for his money. I was like, bro, fuck out of here. Come on. Like really? Like we're really doing this? Like we're not going to talk about how Krillin gets annihilated by Super Saiyan Blue. Like, come on, man. What are we doing? So that whole preamble to the Tournament of Power was kind of painful. The recruitment arc was like, hey, you come here and join the universe ending tournament. Fight me. Sure. Yeah. In a nutshell, basically. Except it takes 3 episodes to do that. Opinion, how is Universe 11 far superior to 10? I don't know. I don't remember that well. By the way, Universe 6 tournament arc thoughts? Oh yeah, that's right. I skimmed right over that arc. Because that technically... Was that before or after the resurrection of F stuff? I can't believe I forgot about that. I literally just reread the manga. I will say the thing about Tournament 6 that everyone loves, of course, who am I going to talk about? That's right, Hit. Hit was a freaking badass. And of course we got, what's his name? Kaba. So we found out about the Universe 6 Saiyans. So that was really cool. DBS anime arcs. Dragon Ball Super arcs in order. Here we go. It was the intro arc, then Frieza, then Universe 6. So actually, I lied. Universe 6 was the first anime arc, because that wasn't in the movies. So that was the first true anime arc. So I take that back. I'm glad I said that, because I was talking out of my butt. That arc was actually good for like a tournament arc. I liked that arc. So I lied. That was the first one before Future Trunks. Tenkaichi Budokai is about the actual tournament without power-ups. I tell my friends this all the time. I'll never let them slide saying that whole tournament was only 48 minutes. Are you talking about the Tournament of Power? The Tournament of Power, that in real time, that had to have been like a whole day. Well, oh, so there was the thing, because they had the time limit, right? They were constantly measuring the time. Yeah, no, it took so long, for sure. Never forget the tingly back to transformation? What are you talking about? Hit's the best side character from Super for me. Bro, remember the arc in the anime they brought it up in the manga, but they never addressed it. Remember the arc in the anime that was like 2 or 3 episodes where Goku wanted to fight Hit at full power and like him using his assassin powers? So he hired Hit to kill him, and Goku died, but he shot Ki up into the air and it came back down and revived him. And then he came back and beat Hit at full power, or like they tied or whatever. Yeah, no, Android 17 is powerful, but he's definitely not Super Saiyan Blue level. So yeah, that brings us to the manga. Universe 6 Saiyan said they focused their energy to their back to transform, and that it was a tingly sensation. I vaguely remember that, but what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? Like, did people not like that? I think it's fine, I guess. That episode was bullcrap, yet I absolutely love. I mean, it's Dragon Ball at this point. Like, do people really care? Unless it's some shit like Goku Black, where we're getting some bullshit ass powers, and it's like, all right, come on, this is a little too much. Anyway, so that brings us to the manga. So to catch us up to speed, I already said the manga is behind the anime this whole time. It's like a whole arc behind the anime. The movie recap arcs are super short, like super short, as well as the Universe 6 arc is very short, incredibly short. And it's also behind the anime, so it's like, what are we doing? Some people didn't like it, but it was more so funny when people say all the stuff OG Cast went through to get a transformation. Yeah, that's true. They did kind of make light of it, I guess. But all the arcs in the manga are like super short. So like even the Tournament of Power, I think, is only like 20 chapters, maybe 15. Excuse me. Whereas like in the anime, it's like super long. There's a lot of differences between the manga and anime. So like, for example, Universe 6 arcs are mostly the same, but then the Future Trunks arc, I forget what the big differences are besides in the manga. So in the anime, Future Trunks is Future Trunks. He's got his sword, but whatever. But then, and then in the end of the anime arc, he does like a spirit bomb sword and he kills Goku Black with that. But in the manga, he has like Kaioshin spirit powers and he uses those. So that was a thing, but that'll never be like canon. Are we gonna get anime or vid reactions anytime soon? So I have no problem if you guys want me to like react to videos on stream, I'll do that, but I won't react to anime in like a conventional sense just because of copyright issues. I mean, look at if you watch him, Alex Light, I think that's his name. He's like the biggest review channel right now, and like all his anime reactions get copyrighted, so it's just not worth it. But if you guys want me to do that on stream, just say so and I'll try to make more streams like that. This is where you point out how the manga did some things better in the Goku Black arc, isn't it? Not so much the Goku Black arc. I do feel like they did some things better in the Tournament of Power arc. The one thing I remember is the fact that they actually addressed that Kale was a legendary Super Saiyan, because the one thing I hated was that in the anime, so Kale gets her transformation and she clearly looks like Broly. Goku and Vegeta have no idea what's going on. They're like, oh, she looks kind of different, I guess. This doesn't provoke any memories at all. And Caulifla and Kaba like say nothing about it. But then in the manga, they still don't mention Broly, but at the very least, Kaba and Caulifla are both like, oh, that's the legendary Super Saiyan. She's like batshit crazy. I'm like, thank you. Thank you. We addressed it. Because why else would you make her look like Broly if you're not going to bring up the fact that she looks like Broly? Like, come on, what are we doing? Tournament of Power Gohan versus Kefla on the manga was cool. I thought that fight was cool. I actually prefer that Goku fought them because it was like, you know, mentor Saiyan versus like new gen Saiyans. Like, this is how, like, listen guys, you're new to the block. We've been doing the Super Saiyan thing since 1984, right? Like, I know a thing or two. That being said, I also didn't like that it felt like in the anime, it just ended up like Goku always fighting everybody. Like, Goku had to be the one to beat everybody. There's like 12 people and Goku basically beat everybody. At least in the manga, they like split it up. So like everyone fought everybody. So it was like a little more divided. I prefer the Goku one just for how that fight ended up being so epic. Yeah, for sure. Key differences: Goku Black's motivation and powers, Zamasu's character, future Trunks' role, Goku and Vegeta's portrayal, merge Zama's. Yeah, there were a lot of differences in the future Trunks arc, for sure. I think they mentioned in both anime and manga, but in universe they never saw Broly before. The DBS Broly movie arc is between Tournament of Power and Moro. True. I feel like for something that was so clearly a nod to Broly, the fact that it was never mentioned in the anime, the fact that they like just were completely oblivious to it, I was like, really? Like, it just felt pointless. The anime excels in visual spectacle and character interactions, while the manga is often praised for its tighter storytelling and more consistent character portrayals. I don't know about being more consistent, but the manga is almost nice because of how fast it is. Like, the movie arcs are very fast. I think they only take up like the first 20 chapters. And then once you get to like the actual arcs, like the Universe 6 arc is actually still pretty short, but it's good. It's very concise. The Future Trunks arc is like the first true arc in that series after Universe 6. And it's, I would have to reread it again, but I would probably say in more ways than none, it's more concise, maybe more consistent than the anime version. The Tournament of Power is definitely a debate because the Tournament of Power in the anime has so many hype moments, but it also has a lot of bullshit. The Tournament of Power in the manga has a lot of really cool moments. Like, in the manga, they actually had all the death gods clash, and there was like a clear hierarchy, whereas like in the anime, that's just not a thing. And it's also much more concise, like way more concise. And it feels like a tournament and not just like, you know, 50 episodes of bullshit. Ultimate Instinct just blew the internet. Yeah, whenever Goku got Ultimate Instincts, that was like, it was like the #1 thing in pop culture for that matter. Dragon Ball Super has its pros and cons. It's not perfect, but it is really good. So anyway, so that brings us to the Moro arc. Because Moro arc comes out like well after the anime ends. And the Moro arc is really interesting because it's like kind of it's kind of like the Dragon Ball Super version of the Boo arc, because there's a lot of like Kaioshin stuff, and there's magic, and there's like, you know, bullshit ass superpowers. And Moro is like a very different kind of villain, because he's like conventionally evil like Frieza. He's like, you know, like a dastardly villain, but he's not like combat powerful. He's got magic. And he's not like Boo, where he's just like a mindless idiot, and he's not like Cell, where he just wants to fight everyone. He's kind of like Frieza, but like he's old, right? So he's like kind of a mix of like Frieza and Boo, in a really simplified way. There's all the stuff with like the angels going on. We like actually get the Galactic Patrol, because the whole time in Dragon Ball Super, the Galactic Patrol was a thing, but like they weren't really relevant. And in this arc, they're like actually relevant. The Namekians are relevant again, and like they're part of the story. Galactus but a goat is hilariously accurate. That's actually pretty much it. Galactagoat is what I'm going to call him. Galactgoat. Which sounds like me trying to say that he's the goat, but he's literally a goat. And if they ever adapt that arc, there are going to be so many goat jokes that it's going to be disgusting. Also a bit of Namek Saga because of him killing some Namekians. Exactly. And like them hunting for the Dragon Balls again. The Moro arc was what the Boo arc should have been in the first place. No, because they're like completely different. They have like completely different things going on. That being said, what they do have in common is they have some Vegeta moments. So obviously Boo arc had Majin Vegeta. This arc had Vegeta, not a redemption, but like some nice moments of like Toyotaro confirming that like Vegeta has evolved beyond his like old dickhead days, and like all he wants to do is like, you know, be cool with the Namekians. Like he literally shows up and he's like, hey, so are you guys still pissed at me for like doing the whole genocide thing? And they're like, and whatever, like just don't kill us again. So yeah, that was really cool for Vegeta. And then again, I don't want to spoil anything for anyone who hasn't read this arc, but all the stuff with the angels and Ultra Instinct, that was really cool. And then the one thing, I was just talking to somebody about this. So Vegeta goes to planet Yardrat, where Goku learned instant transmission, and he learns the spirit powers, right? Which was really, really cool, and was actually pretty useful in the fight. But then it's never relevant again, or even referenced for the entire rest of the manga. So I was kind of pissed about that. So yeah, that arc is really good. I just think the very final part of the fight is kind of stupid, but it's whatever. But yeah, that arc is really good, and I think if they make some revisions to it, I think it would be perfect for the anime. And then there's the Granola arc, which was equally divisive, which I want to talk about. Excuse me. Moro is basically like Demon King Piccolo, but he's magic, and he's ancient force of nature. Yeah, he's like the space version of Demon King Piccolo. That's a good way of putting it. So he's kind of like a return to OG Dragon Ball in that sense. Vegeta got some moments, but Goku defeats the main villain yet again. Yeah, I didn't like that part. I didn't like that we got like so many Vegeta moments, but then like Vegeta's contributions kind of went out the window. I feel like that arc would be so much better if you didn't have it was either 7-3 or 73, the like android that could copy people's powers. The character was so bullshit. Like, it was so bullshit. If you take that character out of that arc, it gets like 10 times better, personally. A lot of people compare Moro with Cell. I mean, I can kind of see why, but they have like completely different characters. Like, Moro is like a really old character who wants to use like cheap tricks and magic, and he's all about like, I guess the only way he's similar to Cell is that they both just want to destroy everything. Like, Cell just wants to go to planet and destroy all the planets, and Moro just wants to eat all the planets. But Moro has more of like a evil overlord thing going on. Like, he likes to use minions, where Cell's just like, I'ma kill you. I think if the DBS manga continues, they will tie in the concepts from the Moro arc and Daima together in a sense, but that's just my personal theory. Well, I don't know how Daima would play into the manga, because in the manga, they do the time skip like they did for the superhero movie. So I don't know how you would tie in Dragon Ball Daima. Off-topic question: do you watch Premier League? No, I don't. At least not regularly. I do like Premier League, I just don't really watch it. The Granola arc, that was divisive. Yeah. So there's a couple things that are really good but very divisive about the Granola arc. So chat, can you tell me what didn't people like about Bardock? Because I haven't read the Bardock spinoff. It's either Dragon Ball Minus or Dragon Ball Zero. I don't know. There's like a Bardock spinoff manga. And obviously this arc added some different character moments for Bardock. And I wasn't reading it at the time, but I saw people reacting to it. And I remember everyone being like really heated about all the Bardock moments. But from what I could tell reading it in the past like day or so, I liked the Bardock stuff. I thought it was fairly in character, but I'm guessing it like made Dragon Ball Minus or Dragon Ball Zero like irrelevant. A few things I like about the Granola arc was how it fleshed out Goku's heritage as a Saiyan, where he finally accepts it and gave Bardock some interesting morality. Yeah, it was like a very pro Saiyan arc, whereas like in prior arcs, we were like always talking about how the Saiyans were basically dickheads and like, you know, whatever. But like in this arc, it was like, no, like they're like redefining what it means to have Saiyan pride. And like they made it a whole point to like flesh out Vegeta, because Vegeta, that was the big thing, is people kept talking about how inconsistent Vegeta was, because he like starts out in the Granola fight saying how he's going to go back to his ways, and he's like Majin Vegeta again. He's like, you know, screw you, Goku, I'm sick of fighting with you, you're not my friend, I want to fight people and be a savage and a badass. And it's like, well, what happened to Vegeta that just said he wanted to save the Namekians and not be a dickhead? So people were freaking out about that. And then, of course, he comes back like 5 chapters later and he's like, well, I guess that didn't work. Time to be my old self again. It's like, oh, so he was pretending. So all those people that said Dragon Ball Super Vegeta is inconsistent, they were just being reactive. It was very divisive, though. People like hardcore Bardock from the original special. Okay. I get it, but I feel like that hasn't really been Bardock for a while. I would have to read the spinoff. I haven't read the spinoff. I don't know how they treated him in that one, but yeah. People love Bardock from the 90s because of the special. That's why people didn't like Toriyama's version of the character from the Bardock special. Are you talking about the spinoff manga? Dragon Ball Minus, okay, thank you, is a one-shot that was at the end of the Jocko run, and the Broly movie adapted it well. Bardock and Granola arc at first came off as fan service, but was well executed for the story. Okay, fair. People love Bardock from the 90s because of the special about him. That's why people didn't like Toriyama's version of the character from Bardock episode. Yeah, so like post 2010 Bardock is completely different from like 90s Bardock. Okay, fair. The concept of ultra ego contradicts itself. How does it contradict itself? I want to hear what you think. That's an important concept. Vegeta in Dragon Ball Super isn't incompetent, as is GT. Bro, Vegeta in GT is a total jackass. Like, probably the most useless character. So, can somebody answer me this, though? Is Granola Arc Bardock inconsistent with Dragon Ball Minus? Or are they, like, fairly consistent? Because I know that gave him, like, a new canon, basically. So, I don't know if that contradicts any of the stuff that happened in Dragon Ball Minus. Was that a thing? Like, people were pissed off because it was inconsistent with Minus? Or was it really just people like 90s Bardock better? And so they didn't like Granola Bardock. At least Toyotaro tried to balance out the canon of the Bardock OVA. His squad are still canon. True. Another off-topic question. Have you listened to Cat's Eye? If you haven't, you should listen to their songs when you have free time. They're excellent. No, but I've been wanting to get into K-pop. I love K-pop Demon Hunters, so that's the recommendation I needed. Thank you, Grace. Ultra Ego is one of my top favorite Dragon Ball transformations. It comes off as an extension of Majin Vegeta. I mean, it's basically just Vegeta renaming God of Destruction and like making it his own. Because it's like, it's not really God of Destruction, but like it sort of is. Yeah. I'm guessing there's no continuity issues with Granola Arc and Dragon Ball Minus. I do want to look that up real quick. Because the point of Ultra Ego was that the more damage he takes, the stronger he gets, but then he can't take too much damage since he starts getting his butt whooped. Yes and no. So just because you take damage doesn't mean... So just because he got stronger from taking damage didn't mean he was invincible. So the way I read that was the more damage he takes, the more output or the more power he can output, but he's still taking the damage. So if I were to equate it to like video game terms, he gets stronger the lower his health bar gets, but his health bar can still go to 0 is the way I read that. Minus and Granola versions of Bardock are Toriyama's version of Bardock that some people didn't like. Some people prefer the Father of Goku and episode of Bardock anime versions because he's more badass. Okay, but they're not inconsistent though, is what I'm reading. Like the Minus and Granola versions are, for the most part, consistent. Because in my head, I had that people didn't like the Granola Bardock because he was inconsistent with Minus. Like Lucario and Smash Brothers. Is that how Lucario works? God, I haven't played Smash Bros in a long time. I did not remember that being a part of Lucario. Oh, are you talking about like the way he charges his thingy? Is that what you mean? The only thing I didn't like about the Granola arc was the Heater clan. The Heater clan, I feel like they made a point of making several different characters in that group, and really the only relevant character in that group was Gas, the fighter. There's Oil and the girl, who really are just errand boys. Like they just run Ellic's errands for him. And then Ellic is supposed to be this like super genius, this like super schemer. And he's like super irrelevant by the end of the arc. Like he doesn't do anything. He just like tricks Granola and he talks this big game, but he completely relies on gas and doesn't do anything and gets bodied by Frieza. So it's like he was never really like a good villain. Just to be clear, Bardock in both the OVA and Super are consistently the same. So are you talking about, when you say the OVA, do you mean the one where he went back in time and fought Frieza's like grandfather? Or are you talking about like the movie, the special? I liked the Heaters clan more than Granola himself, to be honest, but I understand they weren't really needed. It's not that they weren't needed, but they were introduced and they hyped themselves up so much. But really, it could have just been, they could have just cut out that whole clan and just had gas. But like, you needed those character dynamics. Lord Chill, Father of Goku. So Father of Goku and Dragon Ball Super are the anime spec. Okay, that doesn't answer my question. Dragon Ball Father of Goku. Oh, because episode Bardock was the movie, right? No, Father of Goku is the... It was a TV special. Okay. It's consistent with Super? Well, there's two different canons. Because there's the Father of Goku special where he gets like the psychic powers from that alien race, and that's why he goes and fights Frieza. Right? Or am I bullshitting? I would have to go back and watch the movie. The Dragon Ball Super movie. The Broly movie. Does that still happen in Super? I can't remember. It's been a hot minute. But yeah, honestly, both of the arcs after the Tournament of Power in the manga are both good. It's just like the execution towards the end is not perfect. Canon is a very hot debate topic in Dragon Ball. Yeah, that's fair. What about the whole true ultimate instinct concept? That's another thing. In my opinion, Gas is one of the worst Dragon Ball villains, along with Goma from Daima. Well, Daima's a whole nother conversation we'll have to have another time, but Gas was a decent villain, but like the whole Heater clan should be like one character. Like Gas and Elec should be one character. Separate, I feel like they're both kind of shitty. I feel like if Gas had his personality, but then he had like the cunning, sneaky personality of Elec, and he was his own character, I feel like he would be a much better villain. But I also like the idea of this small clan of villains who were like the underdog Cooler family, and like they want to take on the Frieza family. So I like that idea. It was the execution of it. I was like, we could have been better. By the way, what's your opinion on DBS Broly and Superhero? DBS Broly is an amazing movie, just visually and also story-wise. I thought it was really good. I thought they did a really nice job of adapting the original Broly movie, but also like trying to do a new take on it. Because the original Broly movie is about as edgy as 90s and 2000s Dragon Ball gets, right? I mean, let's not be confused. The English dub had Pantera in the soundtrack. Like that's about as edgy as you can get, right? And also that Broly was like stupid OP, and they beat him with some bullshit gimmick. And his motivation in that movie was stupid. The way they characterized him in the movie was so much better. It's the Super movie isn't perfect, but it's more well told than the original movie. But the original Broly movie, it's just raw. Like Broly in the original movie is like one of Dragon Ball's best villains. It was just the way he was defeated was stupid. They made him too powerful. Yeah, I like the story of DBS Broly better, but I like DBZ Broly better. Because he's just raw. He's just that guy. He's him. Goku Spirit punched Z Broly. Yeah, very bullshit. OG, DM me when you read Ichi. I think this was the best chapter this week. Yeah, I'm going to wrap up the stream now. I want to read Ichi the Witch and get on with my YouTube stuff. Thank you, everybody. We had a great turnout. It's always fun to talk about Dragon Ball. I wasn't sure about how excited people were going to be to talk about, 13-year-old anime, but here we are. Need more streams like that? Yeah, we'll have to, if you guys think of anime you want me to do this for again, drop it in the comments, drop it in community posts. We'll make more streams like this. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. Thank you for the great turnout. Don tomorrow, video tomorrow as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks guys. And I will see you tomorrow.